30.
Hello, everyone. This is Wednesday, April 15th, 2015, and I am sitting here with Nathanias, Apollo, and CatZ. Welcome to the late game. We're going to talk some esports. We're going to talk StarCraft 2 per usual. I'm sitting here drinking Liquid Hero in celebration of Liquid Hero making it to GSL Code S. Very excited about that. And so let's get to it. First of all, Apollo, this is your first time on the show. Really glad to have you. How you been?
I've been very good, thanks, mate. I've been very busy with a lot of Legacy of the Void stuff. I'm working on WCS.
Good.
But it's nice to be here. Thanks for having me on, pal.
Absolutely. How are you liking Legacy of the Void? I've been seeing you play it a lot. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I've played a lot. I really like it. I went back to Heart of the Swarm a little bit, and I just got bored because the economy changes and the speed of the game is much faster.
Mhm.
And I think once you change onto that, it's kind of difficult to go back. So I've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely
And
is.
it's always good to discover new strategies and new builds and new units. It's just overall fun.
I think refreshing is a good word for Legacy of the
Yeah.
Void. It's very exciting now. Nathanias, I think first day of Legacy of the Void. First of all, this is your first time on. Welcome. First day of Legacy of the Void, we met, and I think you wrecked me pretty hard. I can't go back and watch the replay, and I didn't that night. Do you remember what you did to me? It was on Infernal Pools.
I think I killed most of your workers at the start of the game, and then we both fought with a single battle cruiser in the center of the map.
Yep.
Except I had a bunch of SCVs to repair, so it wasn't really.
I didn't see those SCVs, and that was the death of me. I should have had a siege tank on those, but yeah. So that was pretty awesome, though. CatZ, you were on episode 1. I think I finally, now with you being here, I've had everyone from episode 1 back on again. How are you liking Legacy of the Void? You're obviously doing very well with it, as Zerg.
Sure. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like it better, right? Like a lot better, but yeah, I mean, it has a lot of issues, I think.
Yeah. No, excuse me.
It's got a dog barking. I'll be right back.
All right. So anyway, we're gonna kick it off today. It's not on the schedule, but we're gonna start with it. First of all, ladder changes. Have any of you logged into the ladder on Heart of the Swarm?
Yeah.
All right.
It's pretty weird, man.
Did you do your placements?
I think I have like one game left. I don't know. I didn't play a crazy amount of games this morning, but I played versus my first game was against someone who finished like top 8 master last season. My second game was against someone who had never been higher than Gold League, and my third game was against someone who had never been higher than Platinum. Same for the fourth game. So basically, it seems like everyone's been like completely shuffled or something.
I felt that too. I only played one placement game today because I've been playing all Legacy, but I played one game and it was against a Platinum player who was actually Platinum, and it wasn't one of those Platinum players that was actually Grandmaster. It was just a real Platinum player, and I thought to myself, well, I guess I haven't played Heart of the Storm in a while, so maybe this has happened to my account. But if that's also with you, then this is the real deal, man.
No, it seems like they did a complete reset because I'm Platinum, and my first match was against a Diamond, and I thought, oh, that's good for me. I guess I was doing really well last season, but then everyone else was former Silver and Gold, so I ended up placing Plat. You guys, but CatZ, have you done your placements yet?
No, man, but you're Plat. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. I live with the shame every day. So. Hopefully Legacy of the Void will be a different story, and I'll just dominate there. That's what I'm waiting for. Focusing all on that. But
Amen.
all right, so we're going to go into the Swarm Host Balance patch. A lot of big changes. There's a huge redesign for the unit. I'm going to kick this to you, Nathanias. What do you think about Mech and the new Zerg? Do you think that the Zerg are at an extreme disadvantage, or do we need some time now, since this is a huge...
Wait. Before Nathanias answers anything, let's say something, okay? I'm always honest with my ideas, and I'm very fair, okay?
Me
so
too.
I may be the Zerg representative here, but I'm not gonna bullshit for Zerg, okay? So
Deal.
you, Nathaniel.
Deal.
Okay.
I don't know if you watched the Frag Bite, but this kind of goes straight into answering your question, man. Watching Firecake versus Happy was... Like, if anybody that watched that like Demuslim and I cast it, and obviously his two Terrans were super biased or whatever, but that was like a painful series to cast because it basically was like Happy went mech every game, and it really like Firekick tried basically everything, but Raven's counter like Broodlord, Corruptor, and Fester, and then Thors and tanks kill Ultralisks and Zerglings. So basically, because Happy didn't let his whole army get completely blinding clouded, like it seemed like he had a relatively easy time. And I think, in all honesty, like I've tried to go mech versus all the Zergs I play, but most of the Zergs I'm playing now are, well, they're like Gold League or some shit, so it's not really representative of real games.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine any reason not to go mech. I don't think Zerg has a really good tool against it. Like some of the maps to make it more difficult to take a third base, which I guess means you could try to harass more, but like a good turtle player shouldn't really be able to lose to Zerg right now.
All right, CatZ, what are your thoughts from the Zerg side?
Yeah, same. I mean, yeah, the same thing. I mean, the PvE nerf doesn't do enough to balance out the Stormhost nerf or the Stormhost change in this particular matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I even hate calling the Stormhost change a nerf because it's a complete redesign of the unit. But there's nothing that fills that gap. So
this is always the concern, though. When anybody ever talked about Stormhost being changed from way back when everyone said it was a problem, the underline always was, but what do we do if it's gone, right? And I feel that if we're talking about mech, but it's going to be the same problem with Protoss, I imagine, that's going to come up soon as well. It's the only reason Stormhost is used is not because people like it; it's because it's the only way.
Yeah, I think it's more true against mech than against Protoss, though, and that's what I was gonna say. Like I'm gonna like not bullshit, but like I'm sure most Zergs don't like CVP right now, and I'm sure our win rates are gonna drop a little bit, but against Protoss at least we get options. At least that somehow got accounted for in balancing with in nerfing the Tempest, for example. But yeah, the Tempest and the Raven occupy very different roles, or they kind of occupy this like a similar role later on, like where it's a core unit in the Turtle army, but in between, like the Tempest is a reactive unit that you get to counter Broodlords, where the Raven is just a unit that you slowly mass up to and become invincible. So the problem is you don't need the Raven anymore because we don't have the Stormhost.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean the Tempest is nerfed, so like Broodlord timings are stronger, and there are options for Zerg. Like I believe Zerg can deal with Protoss on the ground with multiple unit compositions, and I think there's stuff to be done against air armies. The main concern that I have in CVP is actually a well-balanced half and half kind of thing. That should be very difficult. And the fact that the Protoss has the mobility in the very late game now because they're not pinned to a base by Stormhost.
Mm-hmm. So there at the moment, going back to TVZ, is there no answer for Turtlemech?
I don't think so. No, I don't think there's a way certain trade close to efficiently.
You have to really force mistakes out of the Terran, because basically the only option Zerg has right now is what they had in Wings of Liberty, which was like the Roach Muta, like bouncing between the two or trying to catch the other guy off guard. But any Terran that plays mech knows that that's really the only thing they have to worry about, unless unless the guy just does something crazy like a Doom drop But even those, like if you scout them, then it's not that difficult, to stop a Nidus, especially in Heart of the Swarm. So because you only need, especially with the Heart of the Storm economy, you don't have to spread yourself out that much. Like I think about a map like Cactus Valley, where the third base is in a really weird place. Like maybe it's a bit easier to play versus mech on that map because of that. But outside of that, like it's very, very tricky because mech players, like CatZ was saying, like the Raven was like your way of dealing with Swarm host play. And even though, although the Swarm host is no longer an issue in ZVT, you still have the Raven, which just makes your army like ridiculously powerful.
All right. Well,
yeah.
So
if I may add to that,
go ahead.
Because I think Nathanias' point is probably the best here, just because he said, he emphasized that it's on in Heart of the Storm, and the problem with the Stormhost is it's a unit that was designed for Legacy of the Void. I don't think it fits either game too well, but it certainly makes a lot more sense on Legacy of the Void because it's a unit that allows you to go for a timing attack and then harass throughout the game, which is better, if your opponent's spread out. It is pretty gas intensive, but in Heart of the Storm, it just doesn't fit. So it was just a unit that was like, oh, this unit looks cool in this game, and then they were like, hell, let's test it in the other game that we have, and they're like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really fit here,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it has its uses in CvP, I think.
Okay. So now, do you have any specific change you could see that would make that would fix the problem of Turtle and not continue the cycle that we had before without returning the Swarm host to the original state?
Fix Turtle, man.
Allowed Zerg to deal with the Turtle without with a little more straightforward approach.
Like without breaking the game, I don't think so, to be honest. I can't think of anything. Maybe I mean there's things that they could do to balance the game because soon every turn is gonna go mech and we're not gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really think of anything. Like I can't. No, you should have asked me this before, man. I would have thought about it more, but no.
Yep.
Tell me, Lycan tells me, please, people watching, like Lycan tells me 4 p.m. 4 p.m. is the show. so I'm like I haven't slept, right? Like for 20 hours. I'm like, all right, I'll wake up at 4 p.m. for the show, and then I go to sleep like 2 hours ago. So 5 hours sounds pretty reasonable. And then I get woken up at like 1, and they're like, "You're supposed to be on the late game." I'm like, are you fucking shitting me, dude?
I told him 4 Eastern time. But I have learned my lesson, and I will.
You gotta write EST.
God
dude.
damn it.
EST, like.
I will make sure that all future invites to everyone, I will cater it exactly to your time zone. It's my fault. I take full responsibility.
I live in Blizzard time zone, dude. You're the outsider here.
I am. I apologize. All right. So we're gonna from there on. We're all right. I think that's good. Really, there isn't too much to discuss about the Swarmhost patch. We've seen what it's done to the matches, and hopefully either someone comes up with something really creative, or we'll probably have to readdress this in the near future. However, I think that in Legacy of the Void, it's not so much a problem. But you have any thoughts on that, Apollo?
No, it's not much of a problem. There's a lot more options for both.
Yeah.
I mean, for Zerg, pretty much. I mean, you got the Ravager, which is a sick unit. It's just much more difficult to pull off there, and there's a lot more options.
Yep.
I also like the Viper's ability versus people who try to play around with like a lot of Ravens and Vikings. Like that Viper ability wrecks.
Dude,
Banshees are completely broken as well.
I haven't played around with them. In
with
the speed boost, right?
Yeah, I played. Yeah, you can catch them with Muta, man. It's insane. I was playing yesterday against Supernova, and I was only trying to go to the late game because I know Sergen in Legacy. I guess we'll get into that, but like Sergen Legacy, the Void is really strong at timing attacks and like all ins. But I wanted to try to figure out composition, so I was only playing for like the late game kind of. He just totally wrecked me, and both games he went for like 5 or 6 Banshees. And just went around picking off all my hatcheries. It was really aggravating, man. And then he switched into battle cruisers. Like
that sounds like fun.
I mean, like we played like a really long game, and a really long. I mean, like Legacy of the Void, really long, like maybe 25 minutes, and it was like fucking intense. And I lost that, but I was pretty happy with the game. He told me it was like the closest game he's played against Sergia. It was pretty depressing.
Did he use the? Did he get a chance to use like the battle cruiser teleport?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was pretty cool, man.
Awesome.
Battle cruiser teleport. It's good shit. It has a decent cooldown though, so you can usually get to where the battle cruisers are, which is better than I thought. Like almost no matter where you are. there should be a small time where they can just.
Well, it's also the energy too, right? You
It's a
can't,
heavy energy
unless
cost.
it's maxed out on energy. It's hard to get away anyway.
Yeah, I don't actually know the cooldown. I just assumed because he wasn't
It's-
moving. I'm
It's
guessing
an energy
probably
thing.
did,
It's
yeah.
125. It's 125 energy. So
Yeah,
you have
so
to
that's what
wait,
it is.
even if you're maxed.
Yeah, so that's pretty great. So it's a pretty cool ability. It's pretty tactical. It's really well designed. I expected a 3-shot, but it's really nice.
Yep. All right, so we'll get more into the. Definitely going to cover that. That's going to be near the end of the show. We're going to go really heavy back into the Legacy of the Void discussions. I like that we keep getting more and more in depth and things get hashed out. We actually have something new to talk about each week with these units. But we're going to go now into the GSL, what I'm calling the GSL Map Gaffe. And basically what it is that GSL, people know GSL as a forum where, hey, you get a lot of time to prepare. You get about a week each time to know who your opponent's going to be, who you're facing off against, and you go into that booth well prepared. So what GSL did is at the last minute there was the patch that rolled over, and the players were not informed that they would be playing on this. In fact, I believe they were told they were going to be playing on the normal maps before the Swarm Host balance patch. And then last minute, either the night before or 2 nights before, they were told, hey, you're going to be playing on the adjusted maps. So then Total Biscuit and a lot of other people were very upset, and I believe rightfully so. But I want to kick this over to you, CatZ, as a someone who is managing players, who sends players off into battle at these tournaments. How do you feel about this situation?
About what situation? You didn't make it very clear with me.
Oh, I apologize. The GSL using the post-patch maps, when it was understood by the players they would be using the pre-patch maps.
Well, that's obviously very unprofessional and bad, right? But I don't think they had a choice. I think something with the servers went got messed up or something. They should have been better at making an announcement public so that I think they did though. They did mention, right, at some point, because I don't know how I know this, but I know this. The maps just weren't playable at that point in time anymore. Like they thought they would be the custom maps, but they weren't.
Okay, I believe the announcement was made. This is my understanding, so you might actually know more than I do. I believe it was the night before the tournament is when they announced that they weren't able to play on those maps.
Right.
And I would assume they would.
Right.
Right.
So I guess, going into Total Biscuit's reaction, we're not going towards the foreigner side just yet, but just his reaction in general. I mean, Paul, you see it as, pretty justified, feeling? Or do you think he should have more considered, well, if your players are good, they'll be able to succeed anyway? Or do you think he was rightfully...
No. He's right in being angry. He wasn't right in what he did. But, I mean, it's like Kat said, it's a little bit unprofessional. It's also a little bit unfair. I mean, you've got written down in your document that players in GSL have given a given amount of time to prepare for players, and if you change the maps on them, then the preparation's gone, which means the tournament becomes not what it's meant to be.
Right.
So yeah, it's a big problem, and he has full backing there to be concerned about this. It was a problem.
So do you think that they should have, instead of playing the matches as they were after finding that out, do you think they should have postponed the matches?
No, that's the thing where you have to look at GSL side of things, is that if it was me and this was a tournament that I was running and there is no way that I can go back to the old maps and I have this tournament I have to run, you have to be like, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. There's no way you can postpone it. The what else can you do? Because it's not just, oh guys, we're going to put it to tomorrow because GOM are busy tomorrow, or they have deadlines to meet, and so on and so on and so on. So it seems like it is rather unfortunate, because I don't think they're that stupid where they would purposely be like, all right, well, new maps are out, let's play the new maps.
Tricked you, bitch.
Yeah, like, I don't think they're going to be like that. So
Right.
I mean, the thing is as well, there wasn't, if I'm not mistaken, a public response from GSL regarding this. It was just Total Biscuit lashing out. So we only see one side of it. And I think if we were to see the other side and they were like, well, we know, we're sorry, but there was nothing we could do because we weren't able to play these maps, then I think then you have to look at it and be like, well, that's how it went down.
And I did.
Yep.
So the Total Biscuit comments, we'll touch just a little bit on those. I don't know exactly why he decided to bring in the foreign perspective, and I believe it is he's always been very open about, his feelings on how
Crack open
the
a fresh Baileys.
I have to disable the follower alerts because I didn't know those were on. Excuse me 1 second. It makes a noise. All right, those are off. Anyway, so back to the discussion. Total Biscuit, he's always been very vocal and very open about his feelings on how the region lock affected his team, right? We understand that, it sends his players back, and he's very also open about how, Code A is a crapshoot. You might get, random Korean ladder hero, or you might get SOS, and it's going to very much affect whether or not, you get into Code S. So with that fully understanding, but I believe that pulling the foreign scene into it, I like Total Biscuit. I very much agree with him on a lot of things, but I didn't like that. And I didn't think Morrow was necessarily far off, trying to, speak about his thoughts. Nathanias, did you follow the discussion too much?
Yeah, I read the thread on Twitter. I mean, the thing is, like, they talk about the environment, and the people talk about, like, you can compare things like this, or the way, like, the difficulty or the skill between people from different regions. You can compare that to so many things outside of professional gaming that it's, like, not even funny. And it comes up to, like, there's always the nature versus nurture argument for, like, why people from certain areas or certain countries are better at certain things. And it doesn't just because people get, like, better grades in, like, one state doesn't mean that everybody in the other one can't go to school. You know what I mean? So I think taking that argument to say that just because non-Korean players are seen as lower in skill overall doesn't mean that they should be excluded from having an equal amount of opportunities to compete. So, like, from that perspective, or at least the way that I see it, like, it's understandable that the tournament screwing over his players was not really that cool. But I mean, bringing in the cross region thing is, I think it's always a messy subject that really.
The cross region hatred had nothing to do with the subject that he was complaining about.
No, it was more just him saying that,
He
that
was
foreigners
just
should
lashing
be.
out. Someone argued with him, and he was just like, "Fuck you! This is this and this and this."
He
Like,
did
it had
make it
nothing to do
personal.
with it.
Yeah, he made it personal after the responses to the foreigners
Right.
had it easy. That part, that's, like, totally unacceptable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
So,
agree.
I think
mean,
it was
like-
just. Go ahead, guess.
No, you go ahead, man.
Sorry.
Just kidding.
I think we can all agree, it was just a little outlash. I don't know, what Total Biscuit's thoughts were after that. I don't know if he changed his mind a little or his tone. Didn't get a chance to talk with him about that, but I think it was just a little blip. I don't think it's anything huge, but overall, I wish there was something GSL could have done, because I do feel bad for the players that had to play that day and had to wonder, did I lose because of the last minute change kind of thing.
I mean, can't you also argue that it was the same for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can
Absolutely.
argue that, but like that's hilarious, because that's the one argument that Total Biscuit didn't make,
I
right?
guess it's a little bit different, because if it was just maps, then understandable, but it also was the Soulmost change too, right?
Right, and that's the biggest
So,
thing.
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what I found funny, is that Total Biscuit didn't take the one approach that I think would have benefited him most in the discussion, which is Impact was fucking playing Gumiko.
Yeah.
So
that's messed up. Yeah. That sucks.
Lilo would say, "Welcome to Mech." It's like it's not good. It's not good when the biggest buff slash nerf is what your opponent is an expert at, and you couldn't prepare for it.
And I
But
think that's exactly it. That's probably why he didn't make that argument, is because, he's playing that excellent player, but that's where preparation gives you a chance against those players.
Yeah. But
Right.
I mean, when it comes to, is the discussion more so, should that patch have come out at that time? Should it have come out as GSL was starting the next day? But the problem is there is so much StarCraft. A tournament, no matter what tournament, is going to have to suffer that. It could have been the WCS Qualifiers, and then the community uproars because all the Zerg players trying to qualify can't qualify because the patch came in. And if you wait longer, then it's the Premier League, and if you wait longer, it's this tournament and this tournament. So it is hard on that side, I imagine for Blizzard to put it in at the correct time too.
Yeah, it's my guess that Blizzard like notifies tournaments like the GSL, like, hey, we're gonna have a patch in like this date in a month. Is that cool? And everyone's like, yeah, okay, we'll just use custom maps for that one date. And then the custom maps didn't work, everyone got fucked.
I don't know if Nathanias or Apollo, if you guys know about this or you can answer, but I mean, is it possible that Blizzard thought those custom maps were still going to be available, or had they maybe planned to have them work still? No. All right.
I think it's on the tournament. If you tell the players ahead of time, because they obviously knew there was going to be a patch, like that much the tournaments should have been aware of. So if you say you're going to use those maps, like the first day that you test them shouldn't be the day that the patch comes out,
Right.
That sort of thing. And I get the vibe that for something like that to happen to such a prestigious tournament, that must have been the case.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about all we can say about that topic. It's hopefully a lesson learned for a lot of people on both sides of the fence. Hopefully, maybe they can make it so there are custom maps available with pre-patch, when something like this comes up, because that doesn't sound like it'd be too hard to do. On the other side, perhaps the tournaments can definitely make sure that they are more prepared when something like this happens. Either way, it's very unfortunate that it had to play out the way it did. Moving on, we're going to now talk about Soulkey versus Creator. This is something that wasn't planned to be on the agenda, but it's something that with the MKP issue that just happened a week ago, this is kind of becoming a very unpleasant trend. Another betting situation where it was stopped because of suspicious betting habits. Now, I don't have too much familiarity myself with the Korean betting scene. CatZ, are you by any chance familiar with the issues of betting in Korea?
Yeah, no racism or anything, right? Like, ask the Hispanic about the illegal activity.
I was more going because I had already asked Nathanias and Apollo before you got here.
No, he didn't. He didn't, man. He didn't.
Throw me.
No.
You guys hear that? That's the bus you're throwing me under. Yeah. No, I did. So do you though?
No.
Okay.
I don't know about the Korean, but this is on a European site. It's on Pinnacle that the bets got canceled.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's my understanding that the issue of match fixing comes from within Korea using the foreign sites.
That would be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the real question is, first of all, if we go back to the MKP situation, a lot of people jumped at MKP saying, "Hey, you were the one that people were accusing him because he saw it." But I wonder, do you think? And I'll throw this to you, Apollo. Do you think there is match fixing for both players? Like both players are involved in it beforehand, or do you think it's only one player deciding whether or not?
I mean, I have no experience. I have no idea. So whatever I say is just guessing from what I can imagine it's like. And two people working together is risky, right? Because that's the more messed up version. So if I was to guess, then I would say that it's just one person. Because if you involve another person, then people start talking, he speaks to his coach, and then it just gets out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to ever guess, it'd just be one person.
Okay. Nathanias, do you have any thoughts on I guess just
so it would have to be the person losing.
Yeah, most likely.
Well, no.
It would have to be the person losing.
It's the person that's favored, right, who loses the game. I mean, that's how it always used to be in Brutal, but I knew a little bit about it way back when.
It can be the person that's unfavored still losing the game. I mean, that's still money. It's less money, but it's probably, probably no one will like turn their heads around.
But I mean, a single map loss is usually the favored guy. Like, MKP played Biol, right? Was it Biol?
I believe so.
MKP was definitely not the favorite in that match. Yeah, it was Biol.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
The weird thing is just the way that people have been talking about it. Like, there was a thread about it on Reddit, and because I'm not someone I'm like Apollo, I don't really follow this. I don't bet at all either. So this isn't like an area where I have a crazy amount of knowledge. But it seems like the people that do these don't also just bet on results too. So one of the reasons why like games like that could be weird, because one of the arguments that was offered was that for either player, it could have been a bet on something like game length, for like a game will end under a certain period of time, which is apparently something that you can bet on. So like a player doesn't even necessarily have to throw a game, just make it end quickly to push the conditions towards, whoever they're conspiring with. It's pretty crazy when you really think about it, because it makes so many tiny things.
That wouldn't be that wouldn't be an issue on Pinnacle though, because Pinnacle doesn't offer those
Yeah,
sorts
I
of
mean,
user
I'm like I said, I don't know what they do as far as that. It's just something that someone had mentioned that kind of seemed like it made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it applies to here. And the other thing that's really weird is that there's basically betting limit caps on this, like on betting websites.
Mm-hmm.
So say say my Dota team is playing today, right? And Apollo wanted to bet on it because my Dota team is excellent, right? So if he tries to bet too much, the site will tell him, like, after this amount, it's gonna like decrease your odds, So like there's usually like StarCraft bets like start with a $50 betting limit, and then they raise it. But it's not like, the strange part is there that I don't think you can profit that much from it without being completely blatant about it in the way you bet. To where you're just like betting on the least favorite person and just betting over and over until the odds for the other person are complete shit. So it will always get spotted, I think. So there's that, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's I tried to get someone on here that actually knows a thing or two about the betting, but it was, this happened just this morning, so we weren't able to get that. But either way, it's a very uncomfortable thing to be happening in the scene, in the community. The idea that, especially the most prestigious league in StarCraft 2, I think it was Fenner who commented first on the thread, saying something to the effect of, "I don't know which games are real or not." And joking aside, it's an upsetting thought to think that some of these players, especially those that we really like, could be a part of this. But hopefully, something is brought to light, because it's very hard to say whether or not these people involved in this are definitive. Until you get some signed confession or a Skype log or something like that, you're never really going to know. But
yeah, about that, has there been any sort of official announcement? Like, is the GSL or Prime or MVP or whatever teams these players are in, like, made any sort of statement? Is it even being acknowledged in Korea? Because it's both times Pinnacle, like a European website, saying, this is what's up, and I'm curious if Koreans even know that this is happening, because that was such a big fuss when the Savior stuff happened. Back in Brood War.
Right. I believe that they are aware of it. They haven't said anything about it. They haven't released an official statement. They wouldn't release, I believe that people were trying to get the replay from the MKP game, and they wouldn't release it. So I'm really not sure, though, what their stance is. I haven't seen an official statement. Nathanias or Apollo, have you guys seen any official statements from them? No? All right. So, yeah, I don't think we have anything official from them. And that is also curious, because on one hand, you can't expect them to do any kind of big, huge amount of investigation.
It's so difficult to investigate, though. I mean,
Exactly.
how do you ever prove this?
Exactly.
Unless you can get, unless you can get into this guy's email account, get into his accounts on whatever site he's betting on or has been linked to Skype conversation with friends, there's no way you can prove this. It's almost impossible, and it probably will always be a problem. I mean, it's not like this has never happened before, and it probably will continue to do so. It's just very difficult to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but with the example that Brood War set, though, it's hard to believe that they would do it easily or for not a lot of money. And then there's where I start to think, okay, like, how much can they really pay the players if, like, you can't really make that much money on like betting Pinnacle, for example, So
But
unless they're like releasing the information publicly to someone else or something like that, like, I'll go on. Yeah, it's just weird. And we're like we and everyone else is like we're talking as if we knew, or at least we're inclined to think that these players are guilty. But I don't know. It doesn't all quite fit either. So it's hard to say, and hard to judge these players for it.
I definitely agree. All right, we're gonna then now move into a slightly happier topic for the most part. We're gonna move into the WCS Qualifiers, and we're gonna start off with the very happiest part of this discussion, which is gonna be who is qualified and who hasn't, and who is left. So we'll start with WCS Europe. Going to you, Apollo. We have Gung Fu Banda, Elfie, Hero Marine, Beastie Cutie, Marine Lord, Bly, Rhett, and Nurchio qualifying. Out of those, any of those that you didn't expect to qualify this season?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. I think it is an easy answer, but also a truthful answer. I think all these players are more than capable and should be in Challenger. I think the question is who should have already qualified. Maybe a better question, but it's difficult. There's a lot of good players that are very equal in skill, so not all of them can go through easily. But no, I think all these guys should be there. I'm happy to see Elfie back though. Elfie's a player who's been around for a very, very long time. Since the very beginning. A lot of the other players that you mentioned are players that have risen recently and you should be seen in Challenger League, such as Kung Fu Panda, Marine Lord, Beastie QT coming back. But it's good to see an old name like Elfie coming back.
Now, is there anyone that you, off the top of your head, you expect to see? I mean, do you think we're going to see the Muslim? I actually don't know how that game has ended. If anyone's
Hassan is the number one player that stands out that should have already qualified and should have qualified or at least made it. Did he even qualify for Challenger? It was either he didn't qualify for Premier League, didn't qualify. No, he qualified for Challenger, sorry, last time, but didn't qualify for Premier. He's definitely a Premier League status type of guy. If he doesn't qualify for Challenger this time around, this is like going even deeper, further down than he was before. So this guy has to qualify Challenger and he has to qualify for Premier.
Do you think that now, there was a whole year of Hearthstone. Hearthstone was doing, I felt like he was on a very good streak. He was doing really well. And then he seemed to falter off near the end of last year. Do you think that did you notice that or?
Slightly in results, I suppose, if you only look at results, but he's still one of the best Protest players in Europe.
Absolutely.
And that's like every professional, every guy that follows the scene closely will agree with that too.
Yep, I definitely agree with that as well, and I hope we do see some good results. I hope he does qualify, and I hope we do see him at least in the round of 8 for this season. That would be really awesome.
He didn't qualify this time. He lost to the Muslim just in the...
Did he lose to the Muslim just now?
He just lost 2-0.
Wow. Okay, well, I guess he's got to qualify next time.
Last chance, right? There's still the last chance qualifier.
Wow.
I'm sure he has enough points for that.
Yeah.
Little bow in the finals against the Muslim.
The Muslims played really well recently. He's picking up some big names. I saw he beat Daishi earlier, and I think he beat Lilbo yesterday. Like, those are some big names he's taken down, so that's pretty good for him.
Yeah, definitely. Europe has so many good players that are not like super known, so it's really difficult to make it through these qualifiers. Like, even if you look at like Hearthstone had to like beat players like Crass.
Yeah.
Like, they may not be very popular, but they're very good. Like Jonah, like beat by the Muslim. Daishi beat by the Muslim, although Daishi may not be in his best form. There are other players like Goodies, Livko, Strelok. Like, it's like Apollo said, it's not so surprising to see any of the players in your list make it to Challenger, but at the same time, there's another 10 or 15 players that wouldn't be surprising either.
Absolutely. So let's talk about WCS America, and before we go into the actual games and where we are, I want to talk about Avilo versus QXC. Nathanias, you caught that, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, so
the game on Cactus Valley, is that we want to talk about?
Yep. Tell us about the craziness of QXC versus Avilo.
I haven't seen any qualifiers from America, so please enlighten me, Nathanias.
So, well, I mean, the series overall, like the first map wasn't that crazy. The third map was like okay, but the second game is one of the reasons why like I don't enjoy playing Cactus Valley because of the 4 spawning locations, like having to scout it all. And I gotta look which map this is. And I think it's the big sand dune one where your third base is really far away.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
So I also think that map is I think a lot of the maps this season are pretty, a lot of the new ones at least are kind of anti-mech. So for Avilo's style, I was honestly really surprised that he didn't die much earlier in the game. But basically, like, he did some weird stuff, like building that planetary fortress across the map just to cover his army's flank. That was honestly, I don't know if I can give like a synopsis of the game. If you didn't see it, it's probably one of the very, very few games I saw of the qualifiers that you really should watch. But I thought it was a really good game. Most of the time, even though Avilo is touted as being one of the better TVT players in NA, he generally speaking loses. He generally speaking loses to like QXC. Yeah, if I had to tell you Avalo's best matchup, I would always say TVT. Except after the latest patch, then probably TVZ. Like his TVZ is about to become his best, but like, I don't know. Like queuing versus Avalo on ladder makes me very sad, man.
All right. So let's look at who we have qualified so far in North America. We have Zeal, Xenocider, QXC, Jadong. Anyone there, Nathanias, that you didn't expect?
Zeal, I think obviously stands out to a lot of people because they don't know who he is. He apparently used to be known. He's one of the Team SCA or Team ASC as well, like Team Ascension. And those teams have gotten like a bit of a bad rap. So I kind of like that if he was gonna try to qualify for this stuff, that he kind of like left the teams and like changed his ID because the reputations on NA seem to stick with players quite a bit.
Do you
I don't
think
remember
his run
anything.
was good enough though? I'm just looking at his run. I guess Massa is for me, I don't know the North American scene as well as you do, but the people he beat aren't really that well named, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the bracket, but I don't see it off the Wikipedia at all.
Yeah, Massa was his hardest opponent, and then
Massa, Warren, Sir Robin, and then No Regret for the last game.
I think
the qualifier before that, I think he beat Scarlet though.
Massa. Well, Scarlet's not really informed, but Massa. I know Massa's been like I would be surprised if he hasn't been like playing a reasonable amount in preparation for the qualifiers. So beating him is impressive.
I mean, Massa sits like
I
don't know,
and
2 meters away from me.
I think No Regret isn't that bad either. Like
no regret recently hit number one.
I mean, like Sir Robin is somebody that I trade games with on ladder, so I don't know if that's like the biggest thing ever for this guy to get. But the last time that I saw this Zeal guy play was when he was under the name of Ire, and like the only thing that stood out to me was because it was in Todd's satellite qualifier from that crazy night of streaming where he qualified. He actually won the qualifier against, I can't remember what Zerg, but he did like a 1-base Immortal Sentry all in on Catalina. So that was like the thing that stuck with me about this guy. So he's been playing for a while, and I've played against Ruin. I played against him on his Ruin account in previous qualifiers for other. It might have been last WCS season, or it might have been for a different tournament. But I guess he's someone that's just been improving at a pretty good rate. I'm surprised. It's cool.
All right.
No, I think Apollo is partially right though. His bracket wasn't particularly hard. Like Massa is in really good shape. He basically like killed Team Baguette by himself, basically not more than a week or two ago. You know, like he's in great shape, but he lost 1-2 to Ire, and he told me he lost to 2-3 gates. And yeah, I don't know what that means, but
I'm imagining that he. Yeah, I guess it could be a couple things.
But yeah, I mean, it was his mistakes mostly, and I think that Massa was definitely the hardest player in his bracket. No regret not being bad himself, especially like No Regret's the kind of player that can take games, especially maybe from Europeans or even Koreans, just because his style is so aggressive, and if you don't know who he is, it could bite you in the ass. But against North Americans, like someone like Ire, if you really know No Regret style, like you don't have to play him like you would play him in the ladder when you're trying to practice. You just prepare for his all-in.
Yeah. Yep. So Nathanias, Jadong, making it, obviously he goes 2-0 all the way through the bracket. What do you think about him in the future in WCS North America?
As far as the players that he went up against, I guess Gosu User's been having a slow time recovering, and I like Drunken Boy a lot. I think Drunken Boy beat Stardust in the qualifier. Yeah, he beat Stardust in the qualifier that Jadong beat him. So I actually don't know. Like Jadong has 2014 was kind of like the year of like, is Jadong going to be able to really do anything? And like, not really a whole lot happens. So if he's practicing more, then maybe. But I don't expect to see him I don't expect to see him like contest Pole or Hydra.
Didn't do too much in 2014. You don't think?
I'm not particularly.
I mean, I don't want to be the in control here, but I don't think you can say that about JD, man.
He made it far.
He won that tournament in Taiwan or whatever it was, or in China, but he was getting top 4s and top 8s everywhere.
He's always been a solid player. I think the issue more is we expect more from Jadong. We expect him to close the deal once in a while.
And I guess you can argue what are you comparing it to and where is the bar set, but
Yeah,
I
a lot of it.
I think it's my expectations. My expectations of a player like Jaedong are way higher than what we've been seeing from him. And
maybe because
Yeah.
you're looking at WCS a lot because he did suck in WCS. That's fair to say.
Yeah, like I think what happens and happens really often with casters and the community perception in general is with players like Jaedong, if you have one bad matchup, you're not gonna win any tournaments, you know. But that doesn't mean you're not exceptional the other two. So like first CVP was pretty bad for him. Then he kind of worked on it, and now CVT has been kind of the bane of his existence as far as I'm concerned. He's just terrible against Baron, right? Like he always attacks a creep. Even at IEM, after his games against, I can't remember who it was, but he was just sitting there, and we talked before the match, you know, about what he might do, and then I went to him after the match. I'm like, hey, what happened? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, you know, like you shouldn't attack of creep like that, right? He's like, I know. I'm like, why do you do it? He's like, I don't know.
Great combo.
You know,
man.
yeah. I mean, that's what the combo went like. He's like, he's like, CatZ, I know I shouldn't do it, but I don't know. I just attack. And the same thing happens to players like Hydra, for example. Like he does things like that quite often. You know, if you're not comfortable in the very late game of a matchup, maybe you try to end the game too soon or aren't as patient. So yeah, I don't think Jaedong is to be counted out. Jaedong is still an exceptional player, and his CVC is one of the best in the world. And this happens so often. It's that's why I had to bring it up. Like Rain is always like, oh, Rain sucks now since he like joined MYI or whatever, right? Like he's not in the Kespa team anymore, and now he sucks. That's not quite how it works. Like Rain, sure, he hasn't been getting the same Rain results that he used to be getting, but he's still like he has the best win rate on the Korea ladder. Last I checked, and in the top, you know, top 10, top 16. So, like you can never count this sort of player out. Even someone like Liquid Hero, who's not, you know, who hasn't been performing too well. Like I was watching the GSL yesterday, and you know, it just feels unfair when the casters are like counting out one of the players. And I love Artus and Tasteless to death, but you know, it just felt like it was like, oh, Terminator's gonna win this, Terminator's gonna win this, and then like I tweeted right away, and I was like, Liquid Hero has a pretty fucking solid chance here, I think. And then, you know, like it's just, yeah, I don't know, it's just a little frustrating from a player standpoint.
yeah.
I can fully understand that. I don't think Jaedong is to be counted out at all. I just hope that we can see him do more than what we expect of Jaedong. And I think when we were talking about where do we set the bar, I think it's Jaedong 2013 is where in 2014 people were looking, you know, at Jaedong that was making it and that was being Jaedong BlizzCon Finals Jaedong. And now that the Cannon Rushes are gone, maybe if Jaedong BlizzCon Finals, you know, 2015, you know, we won't see that SOS massacre again. Oh even my Terran heart beats sadly for Jaedong. Anyway, I hope we do see a lot from him. You know, all right, now we get to the negative side of the WCS qualifiers. There was the whole controversy of Jaedong playing from, possibly playing from Korea, Colt being in Korea, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe there was one other player that was brought into question. But
Stardust probably.
Stardust. Yeah. So I don't. There's the letter of the law, like there's the you know, the spirit of the law, and there's the letter of the law. There's why is this rule in place, and you know, what are we actually trying to accomplish? And I think that logically, from the idea of you are going to be in America for your WCS run, or you have your visa. Honest to God, I personally don't have a problem with people training outside of the United States. If you have that advantage and you can do that, go ahead. Was that CatZ who just said something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Isn't that the biggest problem that you just underline?
Yeah, of course.
Like, isn't that the biggest complaint everyone has that you think is okay?
Yeah, I'm curious about what your thought process.
Mine?
Like you just listed what you thought was okay,
So
which is the problem that everyone thinks is the problem.
I don't think that if you were like, do I think you have to, you know, achieve the citizenship requirements? Yes. Like you get the visa, you go through that hoop, fine. Now I'm also though in favor of complete region lock, where you entirely put all Koreans back in Korea, all Europeans in Europe, and all Americans and Canadians and South Americans all go where they play from your country. I have no problem with that. In fact, I encourage that. But if we're going to have the loophole, okay, fine. But if you can go practice on the Korean ladder, that's awesome that you have that opportunity afforded to you. Go do it. If you get the check in the box.
So what happens if let me put you in a scenario that might make you understand this a little bit. What happens if I have $1 million and I can do whatever I want with it? I buy 16 Korean players that do anything I tell them, and I buy them all visas, and I say, it's okay, guys, I have you all visas, but it's okay that you guys can still train in Korea. I'm just going to fly you over for these and win all this money. You don't think that's a problem? They have the visa. They don't have to live there. They have the visa. They have the requirements. They still live in Korea, though. Then it's the same.
But what's the point? But then what's the? Yeah. Then it's the same as 2013.
The point is that they get into WCS and they get the chance to win all this money that is on offer.
But so then why not go for the full region lock? Like I'm saying, if we're not in the full region lock, I don't think the region lock was necessarily to say, okay, we have to come.
Because there's people like 4GG who live in Europe and practice with European players and have helped grow the European scene. And there's other Koreans that have done that in the past as well. And Paul and Violet have also done that in the North American scene or playing crossover to European scene. That's why it's there, is because Blizzard want to promote that. They want these Koreans to practice with the North Americans and Koreans.
Okay, I can completely understand that. But do you think that how many do we have now? 4 Koreans in North America?
Well, right now there's Hydra, Bolt, Violet, and soon to be, if not already, Stardust and Jadong, right?
Okay.
So up to 5.
So there would be 5. Do you think those 5 people? Being on the North American ladder are going to have a huge impact?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm deferring to you guys on this.
So the downside of 2014 system was that, especially in the European scene, yes, you had all these Europeans, the Koreans that played in Europe, the MC, the Hyun, the Stardust, the Sack, all these guys, right? Mm-hmm. There's a couple of people that come outside of this bracket, such as Duck in the past and some others that didn't ever play on the European server. But the guys that did, and any top tier pro gamer from Europe will agree, that as much as it was a downside having them there because they were taking the money and winning, it improved everybody. There's a reason why Harston's as good as he is now, because in 2014, he grinded out against these players. It's the reason why Snoot and Bunny became the better players that they are, because all they did was play against these players. And that is the good side of the system, which
themselves, right?
To achieve now.
You've changed my mind. I completely agree with you.
Are you kidding? You can't do that.
No,
man.
I can be logical about it. You make a damn good point, and I can, because first of all, I'm not at that. As you accented CatZ. I'm a platinum player, so I can't really
are
appreciate.
you being racist, dude?
What? I said Christ, I am not of that caliber player, so I can't say when what it's like to be a GM and Q against the same, Well,
okay,
20,
so
30.
let me put it on your level then. Let's say that you're playing it. No, I'll make it try to easier to understand. Let's say that you're playing in tournament. Guys, shut up, man. And the players that you have to play against, you never get to practice with because they're playing on a different server. And then you enter a tournament with them and have to play against them. But there is this other option where you can play ladder against them.
I fully get it now. Right? Yeah, no, I absolutely understand. And I'm just saying.
No. Yo, let me put it down to your level for a second, dude. I
didn't mean it like that.
Okay, this is me, okay? You're what, plat?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't go further down. But just to put it down to your level, man. Let me just tell you a thing or two, okay?
Okay, lay it on me.
No, I just had to say that. But no, I agree with Apollo and everything. I mean, I always bring this up. I feel more often than I should. It's relevant that 4 years ago, maybe a week ago, 4 years ago, I made a video on how I didn't like that NASL let Koreans play from Korea in the North American Star League,
Mm-hmm.
And it hadn't happened yet, but it had been announced. And I talked about infrastructure back then and how we need to develop that and the foreign scene while we're still not Well, the gap between the foreign scene and Korea wasn't large, because it wasn't at a point in time.
Mhm.
What's more, like the first GSL, like we watched it. Root was already formed for the first GSL. We watched it and we fucking laughed at half the games and how bad they were. Like it's just the gap is going to continue to grow because Korea has had the environment, the tools, the infrastructure, the culture. They know how to do things better. They have a better practice environment. They have a better ladder, et cetera, et cetera. So what I said back then is the same thing that I stick by today, which is if these Koreans want to move to America, want to move to Europe, and contribute to that practice environment, contribute to our ecosystem, then that's completely fine. But the problem is when they're just taking the money from somewhere else because they're not helping us improve. They're not helping the viewers empathize more with them or like get to know them better.
Right.
Like Polka or Violet, for example. They're almost one of our own, much like 4GG is in Europe, because they've been in America and Europe respectively for so long that Polka's even joked as Captain America, and they certainly contribute to our improvement. Like Hydra alone, just inside the team, even if he didn't play ladder at all, which he does, improving people in root will bring the level up by proxy. Things like that are very important. So I don't think it's bad having Koreans or other people in WCS as long as they're willing to commit.
So I imagine that having root with Hydra there, it also adds him to the player practice pool for other teams in North America. So how you guys have these little groups that, hey, you want to do some customs. I assume that more North American players reach out to Hydra.
On the ladder, I'm pretty what's the word?
Protective.
No,
you're a strict boss, man.
I'm pretty selfish with my Koreans, man. So yeah, I have a group where like I have a start group that like where there's like mini racers, Scarlet, and basically like DRG, Hydra, Sue, and Solar. So
Okay.
I get to abuse them.
All right, so I guess the other question I'd have then, okay, so we understand the benefit of bringing those players over here and having them here to practice. But when does that start? Should it start before the qualifier, or is it okay to start that once they do qualify? Like, all right, you qualified, get your ass to America or Europe.
It's really easy. I think there's a Grandmaster requirement, right? At least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
the master requirement.
Master League.
Master League. Well, that's not as good, I guess. But yeah, I just wish like the way that Blizzard could make it so that it's more apparent is maybe if they added WCS points incentives to the ladder or something like that. It wouldn't be much, but it would be worth it.
Yeah, but then you introduce like map hacking and cheating and all this shit, man. If it starts to go on.
Yeah, but I mean, no map hacker is really gonna make it to WCS like with.
But what happens if a pro gamer tries
right?
to map hack online? Like it can get messy.
No, we can get some drama.
With WCS points and stuff.
Game.
Okay, so what about?
Yes.
But like to your point for Lycan is. That's the gray area right now. That's the when should Jaedong have been in America? Should he have been in these qualifiers? And I think that with every argument, and I've watched a lot of talk shows in the past, and a lot of the times I know the answers that people are talking about, and there is so much background information that people don't know about. What happened? No one knows if Jaedong and Blizzard are already spoken about this, and Alex Garfield had gone to Blizzard said, "Hey, we got this visa. He can't come until this time. Is it okay?" And Blizzard said yes, but everyone's like, "Fuck Jaedong playing from." Well, no one knows, right? So there's a lot of, and it's very difficult for Blizzard or EG to be like, by the way, everybody, we agreed that Jaedong in advance of these types of discussions coming out. So first of all, that's something that everyone has to keep in consideration. But the underline, I do agree that probably in the handbook and the rule book, there should be.
I think there are some exceptions
in America from this point to play on.
I think that it's in the rules that as long as you notify WCS and they agree to you like not be in the America for that like a particular game or match, it's acceptable, I think.
I think I heard somewhere as well that even Polt had to email Blizzard saying that he was going back to Korea the week or 2 weeks before he went to Korea for the France as well, and they approved it. So like there's so much.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't see a problem with that, and I would also argue that I don't see a problem waiting until you get qualified. Obviously, with visas, it's going to take a while, and it's in your best interest to make sure you have that visa before you even try to qualify. But
Yeah, like I know that Jadon didn't like or waited to decide whether he was gonna play the GSL or WCS NA until BlizzCon. So he already had to sacrifice basically WCS season 1 for his visa.
Yeah.
And then it's I think it's perfectly fine. It's not like he's not here because he doesn't want to be. It's like his visa just took longer as far as.
And even
as
in a
far
weird
as
way, I mean, isn't it also in a weird way a disadvantage for him to play from Korea, or is it not that big of a deal?
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
And that's why I liked how Lycan opened this conversation. Where there's the spirit of the law and the actual law. So yeah, I don't think there's any ill intentions, especially from Jadon. I don't know from Stardust's perspective, but I think he probably has somewhere in mind to move and whatnot. So.
And I know Penguin has been very adamant about when this conversation came up how he has worked with Blizzard to get certain considerations because he doesn't have a North American count that's Masters, and he wants to play. So I imagine that on Stardust side he's also been the same way with communicating. But that is that's my guess.
I think at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to wanting what, because I like that you guys mentioned this, like what the scene gets from players, because I think a pretty poor argument is that a lot of NA players don't practice on NA, but it also comes back to if they want to be able to compete against these people coming into the region that don't play on NA ladder, it's like the only option that you really have, So if you're gonna have to play against players like Jadong or Stardust or Pult, you're not gonna prepare for them if they don't play on your ladder. So I think that players like Hydra, because I know Hydra plays like CatZ. I'm pretty sure he like plays for us in the SC2 ITL. Like he doesn't like he participates in spaces that he otherwise wouldn't if he wasn't affiliated with a North American organization, which I guess is what I'm really trying to get at, because we don't see that participation as much from. I think EG I don't know if they actually signed up for it this season, but I know they have in the past, and they've had like Jadong play in those. Like I'm pretty sure occasionally, but like that's not something that we don't see Pult sign up for. Anything like that. I don't know if Pult plays in like the ASL, in the North American online tournament. So like players like him, we don't see as much at all. I'm pretty sure Violet does. Like that's like the big thing, because if Stardust or Jadong this season aren't going to participate in anything North American until they play WCS, then you have a really, really poor way of studying and preparing for them as a North American player who lives in North America.
Right. So I think the last part of this is the something that I did have a problem with. I didn't really have a problem with like I said, the Koreans play out, but the people that weren't able to participate because of the master rule. Now, it's my understanding that before, I wasn't around in the early days of WCS, but it's my understanding that you'd have like 1,000 people signing up for the WCS qualifiers before they implemented the master rule, and that's why they did it, to cut down on that. Is that correct?
I mean, it sounds like it makes sense.
Okay. So do you think that that's a rule that we can kind of get around nowadays? Like, that is it that hard to manage all those people signing up? Because it does. What are we truly preventing from this happening? Because random gold leaguer isn't going to cheese out one of the pros that should be making it to WCS.
I think the easy fix for this is that if someone wants to sign up, I think one of the players that had an issue was SWS. Like if you look at his account, like if it says he's in Diamond League and you look at his account, you'll see that he spent like the last like 8 seasons finishing in GM or whatever. Like it's a pretty obvious tell that this person meets the qualifications to compete in WCS qualifier. But I mean, if someone I guess you have to draw a line at some point. Like someone can't just show up on an account that's never been ranked in Master League before saying that they're whatever.
I'm pretty sure the main reason for this is because if you open up who can sign up for it, even though a Gold League player should never lose to a pro gamer or whatever, is that how is this manageable for a tournament broadcast? Like this could be a 24-hour tournament if you have unlimited amount of signups, right? And then pro gamers are like, all right, let me sit through fucking Silver League, Gold League, fucking Silver League, Bottom League. Like I'm pretty sure that's like one of the...
Plat, not silver. Right? Plat, not silver. But no, absolutely, that makes sense.
But I do think that there should be definitely exceptions made here. Like, I'm a pro gamer. I play on the North American server. I haven't been active in a while. You know, I'm at least Grandmaster level because I'm a pro gamer. I should be allowed to play. I think that is a. But then again, the counter argument to that is then you start to open up gray areas for everybody where people can start to say this all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, anyone with any, like minimal sense of what's fuck? I forgot the word. I know it in Spanish.
Common sense.
Say it in Spanish, man.
Common sense. Thank you very much. Sentido común, Apolo.
Oh yeah, that's common sense, dude.
Common sense, man. But yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's why we have admins, right? For the gray areas and stuff. I think but it really depends on what the rule wants to be. Because if it's a rule meant to push players to actually play on the North American server, then it makes sense that you don't, if it's a rule meant to say, hey, guys coming into the NA ladder or pros that are not playing the NA ladder, go play NA ladder, and let's make NA ladder better. Because that rule does do that to some extent. Then you can fuck over SWS, but otherwise no. And especially because there was two players that got a much bigger, Stardust and Jadon. They got a much bigger. Apollo, come on, man. Word.
Say it in Spanish again.
No, it's a different word. Oh my god.
Say it again.
Consideration.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, consideration.
Yeah, they got a much bigger consideration for them, right? So yeah, I don't think he should have been fucked over here. It kind of reminds me of like when EG kicked Orb, and they wouldn't have kicked Idra for doing the same thing, kind of argument.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's where the gray area, as I mentioned, starts to come in, because you can basically treat people in different ways because of this, and it's really hard to have a fixed line of how you do treat people.
Right.
So that's probably why another reason why this is there.
Well, hopefully I think this is going to be we've had some different learning points from each of these, the season 1 and season 2. Now, we come up with this issue again. So I think that season 3, it's going to be smooth sailing. I can't foresee too many other, things that we need to be ironed out coming to fruition. But, I'm always surprised by the shit that comes up in esports. So we'll see. But final thoughts, the premier pick is going to be in effect in this season. Is that correct, Nathanias?
Challenger pick.
It's challenger pick. Yeah.
Challenger pick. Okay. So, what do you think of that system? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Fucking love it, man. I think it's awesome.
The whole idea, at least like, because in things in discussions that I heard about it prior to it like being implemented, like you have these challenger matchups that otherwise random don't hold a whole lot of value to people. Like people want to tune into Premier League. Well. When they
based on seedings, mate, or based on WCS
like qualifier seedings and like previous points that are kind of like in these weird gray areas, because a lot of these players like didn't have points last year, especially. But I think giving it a bit more meaning, as far as I don't know, I guess it kind of goes along with the whole like hashtag storylines thing, and it's more interesting than just they fit into this formula this way, so they're gonna play. Okay, well let's see who wins. No, maybe it's like you have a player that's not as favored or has a bad matchup or something who picks someone because they can mind game them or something like that. I don't know.
Well, do you think that adds too much of a human factor into this, where normally you're just relying on your own personal skill and then a little bit of bracket luck?
I think if you have enough time, if there's enough advance like notice for who you're playing against, if you're a professional, if you consider yourself a professional, then fine, then you should be willing and able to prepare for whatever matchup you get anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think this is a great format. I mean, we're gonna have a show for it on the 20th on Monday for America and Europe for the selection process. I think it's great. The number one player in terms of points, so like Bunny and Showtime, I think tied it right now, get to pick who they want first from Challenger.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes down to whoever's second, third, get to pick, fourth pick. I think it's a great system, much better than the previous one, which was, to a degree random based on points and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the show can be cool. I've been working on the show already. It's very basic right now because it is very last minute, but it's going to work well. And I think the process is awesome.
All right. Well, I'm always excited for new things in the long run. I want to see how they work out before you make any final judgment. So hopefully
Yeah,
this does turn out to be exciting.
there's a Skype chat with players from and players and Sion where we kind of give feedback to Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like how they shouldn't touch the Cyclone, right? That's your latest.
I mean,
feedback.
they rarely listen, but they do. Like when they ask for specific feedback, they do listen.
Mm-hmm.
Like maps, for example, they asked for maps feedback. Then we voted a map second, and it didn't make it into the map pool. But other than that, they listen. Just in general, they do listen. And whenever they're asking for feedback on a specific topic, and when they asked about this, no one really cared. It was like not even divided opinions. It's like, oh, I don't care, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's any issues with it. I kind of just said whatever's gonna be the most entertaining, go with it, because, yeah, it's fine. And then the question was whether the challenger player would pick or the premier player would pick, and the challenger playing picking just doesn't make as much sense, I guess. So
I don't know. We tossed around the idea quite a bit, and at the end of the day, it wasn't my decision to make. But I think challenger picks can be cool. But I mean, the way that the premier player picking gives an advantage to the Premier League player that maybe he doesn't necessarily need. And I think
you're right.
The hashtag storyline aspect of it could be cooler if it was the Challenger League player saying, "Fucking, I'm going to challenge that Premier League player." I think that's cooler than I'm number one. I'm going to pick the easiest player. Don't you think?
You know what, Apollo? You've changed my mind. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever's most entertaining is
Yeah.
it's gonna be
I mean,
better.
from a pro player perspective, whatever the entertainment value is, what do you think is better from being a Challenger League player or a Premier League player? What do you think is better for you?
Well, for me, I'm not in either yet, but I will
But
be
if you
challenger
were.
hopefully soon. So yeah, obviously I would rather pick my opponent, right?
Mm.
But then it would be kind of awkward because my two people to pick from are Major and Kelliser. I'm complete fucking shit at CVT, so I'll do it with a sad face either way. And then I have to pick the best star in North America or my teammate, who sits next to me. So it's like, yeah, let him pick.
Rip.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, we'll see what comes from it. I'm looking forward to the show. Do you have a date for that, Apollo?
20th, Monday.
Oh, what time?
It's not 100% yet, but it will be by tomorrow probably.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
I mean, it's like the 20th date was fixed today, so the time is next. So it should be the 20th, and then we'll have a time probably tomorrow.
Cool. So then, so the players will be there, right?
No, that's the unfortunate thing, that we're not unfortunately Korea where everyone can fly in and do this. So
No, they'll be involved though. Like they'll be like maybe on Skype or something like that.
that's the plan, but we're trying to work around it. But getting I mean, how many? You got 28 players for Europe because it's 14 Premier League players, 14 Challenger players. We've had discussions on how we can make this work, but it's a messy show right now if you're trying to involve Skype. So right now it's without Skype.
Okay.
But in the future, we definitely want to make a way to work it in because it can be cool. It really can be. But right now, since it's the first time we're doing it, we just want to make sure it's a good show. There's not really many fuck-ups, and it's not 28 people talking over 28 people, and it's messy. So we'll see.
Well, so the reason I ask is because on the 20th is the third Legacy of the Void Lycan League, and it would be cool if Bly and Nurchio were not there, so we could have many different people make it through the bracket instead of those two. Because every week.
Unfortunately, the only thing, I mean, the show's only going to be between half an hour and an hour, so
just enough for them to not be able to play.
just enough for them to do whatever they got to do, and then peace out and play your league.
And I say this to you guys, I love having you play, but you guys are imbalanced right now. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, we're gonna go to a quick commercial. When we come back, we're gonna talk about player behavior, and the responsibility of teams in managing how their players act, and just being an adult and a professional as a player. We're also going to talk about the Team Liquid economy. We're going to bring Zeromos in. He's going to give us some quick rundown of it. We're going to discuss the proposed changes. We're going to talk about Apollo's fight night, CatZ performance, and that we're also going to talk about Nathanias and the Fragbite Masters and why he didn't wear his sweet-ass McDonald's outfit tonight. And then we're going to wrap it up with Legacy of the Void. We're going to go a little deeper into the units. We've had a lot more time. Really excited to hear further thoughts on that. And there are all some balance changes as proposed. And so, yeah, we're going to dive into that after these quick commercial breaks. We'll also adjust the sound, guys. So we'll be right back. Talk to you soon.